Welcome to episode 118 of Outside the Circle, a podcast dedicated to new and upcoming country artists, musicians, and songwriters. Today's guest will be Erin Kirby. As you may realize, this is Brian and not Ronnie, who usually does our intro. We are recording this on Wednesday the 3rd, and at the moment, Ronnie has lost power. Even though we live in the same town, he is across town from me and has zero power. And, he's been out for a couple hours now, so hopefully they get that back on and he gets some heat back in his house. So, not much to really report on here. We are going to just jump right into this interview. This was another solo one from Ronnie. This was during the infamous Hopkins household sickness. So we'll just kick it right off with this interview and we'll go right to it.
All right, everyone. We're here today with singer-songwriter Erin Kirby. Welcome to Outside the Circle, Erin. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, we're looking forward to chatting with you, or I guess I should say I'm looking forward to chatting with you. You've had quite the 2023, so we're definitely going to dive into all that. But first and foremost, we always like to start with the boring, typical. Tell us about where you're from, how important music was in your household, things like that.
Amazing. Yeah. So I'm from a small town in North Georgia called Jasper, and music in my house was huge. However, not country music. I did not grow up listening to country. My mom's from Chicago, so a lot of the music I would listen to was either R&B, hip hop, sometimes pop, and then my dad loved like old rock. So country was something that I kind of found on my own and fell in love with. And when it came to singing, I started out singing old soul music. I'd only sing, Etta James, James Brown, those kinds of artists. And it took me a minute to break out of that and get into modern day music a little bit, fell in love with Adele, Sam Smith. And then as I got older, I fell in love with country.
That's pretty interesting to go to not really have the country upbringing and then kind of end up in it. Kind of the same thing on my end. New Jersey's not known for country music, so it took later in life for me to get there. I know you said like what your parents were listening to, but like, was there any musicians?
No, not at all. My mom is a painter, so there was creativity in my house, but no musicians, no instruments, nothing when it came to music in that way. It was just pure listening.
Cool. So when was it that you decided that music was going to be what you were going to pursue?
Yeah, so I actually started in pageants, and I would watch Toddlers and Tiaras on TLC as a kid. And one day went to my mom and I was like, Mom, I think I want to do a pageant, but is there something that we can do that's a little bit more toned down? And the first thing that came out of my mom's mouth was, Erin, you have to like clean and paint your fingernails, because I am a huge tomboy. I loved being outside and I was always dirty as a child. So I said, okay, that's fine. We can do that. And we ended up finding a local, what they call natural pageant, meaning that it's less glitz and it's more about who you are, and talent was an option. So I started singing in talent competitions through pageantry, and I would do that and then go to karaoke on like Wednesday or Thursday at our local pizza place. And from the moment I stepped on stage, I knew that music was what I wanted to do forever. And I think I was 8. So being 8, I didn't know where that would take me or how to start. So I did pageants for about 4.5 more years, and then decided, let's just go ahead and start writing. Let's jump into this music scene. I was extremely close to Atlanta, about 60 miles north, so only an hour drive. And, Atlanta has a pretty big music scene, so it was a great opportunity for me to just start playing shows, meet people, learn how to write, and all of those things.
So my understanding of Atlanta is it's known for its like hip hop and like that scene. So I guess that worked with your mom being into that stuff. But was there a country influence that like started to make you go that way, or like what was that scene like for you when you first started like getting on stage and all that?
Yeah, so I, like I said, purely would only perform old soul music. And when I started writing, the vibe was definitely what I like to call pop soul. So similar to Jessie J, she's a British artist that I absolutely love. One of my biggest influences, still, even in country music, is her. And that was kind of the vibe I was going for. And when the pandemic happened, it was honestly a great thing. I think because I got the chance to fall in love with country music. Starting in music so young and being in the city all the time took away from the fact that I am a country girl, I'm a tomboy, and I'm from the middle of nowhere. So when I was stuck at home, it brought all those country roots back out of me, and I was in my room constantly singing songs, learning new songs, writing over Zoom, and I realized that the music I was creating and putting out, it was almost feeling like an act because that wasn't really who I am. And so I found country music. I was going to what I like to call Jesus camp, and I was a worship leader at this middle school camp. And one of the worship leaders, he is a huge country fan, and he also did music. So he kind of introduced me on our ride there to some of the current country artists, and that was Hardy, Morgan Wallen, Ernest, all those people when they were just starting out, Luke Combs, whatever. And I fell in love with it. I was like, this is amazing. So on that trip for our week long of Jesus camp, we wrote a country song together, and it was amazing. And from that time, I think a few months later, I actually ended up meeting my team in Nashville. And to me, it was God saying, you've been doing this for a long time. I think you figured out where you need to go. So here's your team, do what you love, and just go for it. And that's what happened.
Well, so having that team is definitely probably the most important thing, especially in any industry, but in the music industry, that's a very important thing to have. So songwriting wise, so I guess let's start with like the cliche, like tell me a little bit about that process, what that looks like for you, things like that.
Yes, I'm sure you've heard a million times, but as a songwriter, we all have an idea section either in our phone or in a book or whatever. So anytime I get an idea, I immediately write it down in my phone. And then when I have a session coming up or I feel like this is an idea I want to write with a specific someone, I will bring those up in a write. We'll either throw out ideas or I'll go in and say, hey, I've got this idea and this is what I want to write today. And I feel like y'all are the people for this, so let's do it. And usually my co-writes will consist of me and 2 to 3 other people. And it's like a little party almost. We have so much fun and we end up with this incredible thing that did not exist a few hours before. And so we usually will start out with the idea, what the story is going to say, and then we'll maybe jump into either the instrument part or the lyrics, whichever kind of comes first.
So you mentioned before with COVID, kind of coming across that Zoom, well, obviously it's what we're doing now. It's become the thing, right? So, are you in Nashville now?
I am. Now I'm in Nashville.
Okay. So kind of going from the Zoom to the in-person being in Nashville, do you prefer co-writing over like solo writing or like I know some people have their feelings on either?
I love co-writing just because I feel like when it comes to listeners, not everyone is going to have the same thoughts and the same ears that I'm going to have. Everybody has a different favorite color. And so when we have multiple people in the room, that's multiple thoughts, multiple ideas. And I feel like it will become more relatable to more than just people like me. So that's why I love co-writing.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely if I was doing it, I would have to co-write. I feel the same way that, one, you could walk into something with an idea and it might not be totally fleshed out or might not be the best thing, but then by the end that it's going to be the next single. So,
Wow.
all right. So you're in Nashville now.
Yes.
2023, you started officially, I guess, releasing some singles here. We're going to get to one of them in a moment, but that being your third one, kind of take us through that first release and how, I guess, the fact that you're putting something officially out in the world, how that felt, how that came to be for you.
Yeah, so releasing a country single was like a brand new world for me. It was like releasing a first song ever and putting it out into the world. So when it came to deciding which song to release first, I decided to go with Boys These Days, which I wrote with Kylie Sackley and Joey Hyde here in Nashville, because it's something that is pretty personal. Even though it's a really fun, song, it was still a true story that had happened. I had a really bad experience with a guy, walked into the room, and Joey had a love song idea that we had started writing. And I said, you know what? I am really not feeling this because that is not what just happened to me. So I start talking about what happened to me, and Joey goes, oh my gosh, Boys These Days. And Kylie was like, that is what we're writing. That is the song right there. And it literally just fell from the sky. So to be able to release a song, and now I've written with Kylie so many times. She knows so much about me. I love her. Releasing a song about a year later with someone that is a true friend now, and something that did happen to me, something that's relatable, I feel, to a lot of females and males or whatever. I feel like it was really exciting. It was nerve-wracking, but I was super excited.
Isn't it funny how like I say, you're working on one thing and then whatever your mood is that day could totally change it.
Hey, honesty is the best policy. So if you're not feeling it, you got to say something.
Yeah. Yeah. And we always talk on here about authenticity and how important that is. And, the listener knows when you're kind of just putting something out there to put something out there, or when it actually means something to you.
Yes.
So I know we're going to kind of jump from 1 to 3, but you recently did just put out your third single of the year. Let's go ahead and put that on for you, and then we'll talk about it when we come back and kind of go from there. So do you want to introduce the song we're going to play for you?
Yes, this is called Redneck Rich, and to talk about it in a nutshell, I wrote it with Skip Black and Chris August. It was an idea I had. I felt like it was perfect for the day, and it talks about, the redneck rich things that the Lord has given us and the materialistic parts of being redneck rich. So that's the song.
Raise one up if you're redneck rich. Saved up every dime I had just to find out that big field of stars was free for me to have. The best things in life are God-given, just like a red dirt road, or being around a backyard fire pit with everyone I know. I got a creek out back with a honey hole, a Labrador and an old Zepco, a shotgun rifle and a 45 and a truck that's stuck in four-wheel drive. It ain't much, but that's all the stuff I need. Sling a little mud way out in the sticks, raise one up if you're redneck rich. six, raise one up if you're redneck rich.
All right, so let's talk about Redneck Rich. Before we went into it, you kind of started giving a little bit about it. So I guess let's start with what was the inspiration behind that song and really how it came to be for you.
Yeah, I just had this random thought of Redneck Rich. And like I said, I have this note in my phone where I put these ideas in, and I immediately wrote that one down. And I had a write coming up with Chris August, and we were actually supposed to write with a female who usually writes more emotional, slow songs. So I totally thought we were going to write a big ballad that day, and it was going to be awesome. And it ended up that she had to cancel, and we put in Skip Black instead, who I love so much. And so I said, we're writing a fun song today. We are writing a fun country song. These two guys, we got it down. So I walk in, I'm like, I got Redneck Rich, let's do this thing. And the song was written so fast. It was such a fun write. And the song just kind of talks about, like I said, the parts that God has given us that we can be rich in and be redneck. And then those are the dirt roads, the bonfires with your friends, whatever, the fish, the hunting, all of that. That's from the Lord. And then it also brings in the side of like, everybody wants to have a lot of money and live in a mansion, but I want to have a truck that's so big I can live in it like a mansion. So those two worlds coming together is Redneck Rich.
Yeah, so normally when Brian's here, he likes to talk about the production side of songs. He's an audio engineer and all that. And I always like to focus on like the lyrics and content. And I absolutely love this song. There's something so relatable to wanting to be, I guess, content, really, like you don't need $1 million, you just need to be in your little bubble and safe there. And I think we need more of these types of songs than but yeah, no, I absolutely love this song, and I think you definitely knocked it out of the park.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's one of my favorite songs, and it ended up guiding me to a lot of the stuff that I have written this year, and just falling in love with that, being vulnerable, being honest about the world that I come from, and making sure that songs are still fun.
We definitely need the fun songs there. Yeah. So I mentioned, we talked about Boys These Days and now Redneck Rich being the third single, all of which I mentioned were 2023. So I guess in such a short 6-7 month period here, how has the response been to these three singles and where it's, I guess, pushing you to?
Yeah, it's been great. People actually really love the songs, which make me super happy, I have noticed that even a song like Raised in a Barn, when I released that one, it didn't initially do the best, and now it's doing the best out of all of them, which is so funny. But I ended up releasing that really close to the Cameron Marlowe duet, which at the time I had no idea was happening until Cameron decided to surprise me in studio. But it's so funny because things can definitely grow still, and you never know where the algorithm is going to lead. So it's been a great response. I think that people love upbeat country songs, and that is what I have provided over the course of the past few months. I'm thinking that next year I'm definitely going to maybe throw in some more heartfelt stuff. I think some people need to know that Erin also has emotions, but it's been really fun, and I think that people are loving the stuff. I hope. Fingers crossed.
Well, it seems to be the case that everyone's out there loving it. Yeah, we need those more emotional stuff here and there, but you're definitely, these three songs are definitely a very solid indication of who you are and what your career is going to turn out to be. So if these three songs are any indication of anything, I think you're on a good track here.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a happy girl. I just want to write fun, happy songs.
Yeah. So you mentioned the Cameron Marlowe, I Can Lie, I believe was the title of that. How did that opportunity come to be for you?
It all came from TikTok, which is so wild. I saw where Cameron had posted a little recording of I Can Lie, the Truth Is, and it was just him and his guitar singing. And he said, I'm looking for a female duet this. And Cameron and I had already followed each other because I cover a lot of his stuff. I'm a huge fan of him. And so I decided, what the heck, I'll just duet this and he'll see it and it'll be funny and that'll be it. And that was not it. I posted it for fun, and a ton of people started liking it, started seeing it and loving it, which was amazing. So they were tagging Cameron in the video, tagging Cameron in every video I posted for the next, 4 to 6 months. It was crazy. I'm like, y'all, I don't think Cameron's going to have me on this song. Appreciate it. I can't do anything about it, but I guess keep tagging him. I don't know. And Cameron ended up surprising me in studio one day. I thought I was just going to check out a venue and then go to lunch with my manager, and come to tell it was not. It was Cameron, and he walked up. He's like, hey, I'm Cameron. And I'm like, yeah, I know who you are. Okay. And he said, we brought you here today. We were wondering if you would sing on I Can Lie, the Truth Is. And if you don't want to, that's okay. And I was like, why would you even say the last sentence? Like, of course I want to do it. And he said, oh, you don't need any time to think about it. I'm like, no time. Let's sing now. We can sing now. And we ended up doing that. I heard the song for the first time. We recorded it in just a few hours, and it was released like in a couple weeks.
So it was all one day, essentially.
Basically,
you walked in and heard it, and yeah.
Yes.
It's crazy what the internet can do with these social medias. And I still don't know how to work TikTok, so that's a different story. But
it is hard. TikTok is so hard, and it's hilarious. I say that one of the first videos I ever posted got 10 million views, and it was of me doing my hair. And so I got stuck in this hair world. Anytime I'd post a singing video, it was like, we don't want to see that, but if you could please show us a bun, that would be good. Like, what? So I took a year and a half and I only posted music content every day, and took that to get to that one video that just did so well.
Yeah. Well, you gotta build somehow, right? So even if it started with hair, it's all part of the plan, right? Eventually you'll get to where you need to be.
Definitely. Never give up. Just keep on going.
Right. So, many artists, singer-songwriters work their whole careers to eventually, hopefully, ever get the chance to sing at the Opry, which you got to join Cameron for. Tell us about that experience, how that went, and all that good stuff.
So Cameron apparently loves to catch me off guard, because I was in a write that day. It was the day before the Opry performance. And my manager said, hey, can I call you real quick? And I was like, sure, I'll just step out. And she called and she said, hey, Cameron is wondering if you would like to play the Opry tomorrow with him and debut the song, I Can Lie, the Truth Is. And I was like, oh, of course I do. Yes. And I immediately called my mom after. I'm freaking out. I'm like, guys, I know we're supposed to focus on writing a song right now, but my head is in a different universe because I just found out I'm going to play the Opry tomorrow. What the heck? So my mom got on up here in the same day. It's like a 3-hour drive. So she got in the car, drove up. I was more concerned about what I was going to wear than anything else. And I picked out my outfit that day, and the next day we were performing at the Opry, which was wild. I had a write that morning. I was totally on a life high, super excited. And before I stepped on the Opry stage, I will not lie, I was very, very nervous. You could literally feel my heart like beating out of my chest. It was kind of scary. And then as soon as I stepped on that stage, all the nerves went away. It was like, this is where I'm meant to be. This is what I've been working towards. And this is my happy place.
I feel like that's like a common, I feel like that's common for any show. You're nervous beforehand, and then it just kind of happens on stage. But I feel like a venue as iconic as that, there's not that there's no time for nerves, but it's that's the goal, right? So
Oh, yeah, the excitement and the joy just kind of takes over the nerves, so they're not even there anymore.
yeah. So between the duet and your successful year of debut songs here, I'm curious if there's anything that you've kind of learned through this whole year that maybe you weren't expecting, or anything about the industry that really took you by surprise.
Yeah, I mean, I have been doing music for a long time, but each place is different. Every year I learn something new. And almost starting over was hard at first, but this year has definitely shown me that patience is totally worth it, that God has a plan and we have to trust in that. And I had a devotional thing with my worship team at church recently, and the worship leader said, when you get to that thing you've been waiting for, you realize that the waiting was worth it. You don't even say to yourself, oh, I wish I didn't wait, because everything happens when it's supposed to happen. And so throughout this year and writing songs to lead up to the few that I'm going to release, and to the Cameron Marlowe thing, and to all the shows, I know it has taken time for a reason. And so I've learned that patience is extremely important, and just to trust God a little bit more.
You know, it's a very powerful thing to understand. Too often we see people rushing things, and even how many people are on the schedule of, I need to put out a song this week, do this week, do this, now another song, now this, now that. And I think, if anything, having that patience is definitely, like, especially in an industry like music, right?
Yeah, and it's so tough. It's one of the hardest things, is being patient. But when you are patient, it's so, the cheesy saying, good things take time. It's cheesy for a reason, because it's so true.
For every 10 no's, there's going to be that yes. And yeah, I think that's a very good thing to have learned, and don't lose sight of that, because that's important.
Absolutely. It was a great year. I learned a lot of things, but yeah, that was definitely one of the majors.
Good. So, well, actually, it's November, December here already. So 2023 is kind of coming to a close a little bit. Anything you have coming down the line that you want to touch on? More music, more Opry performances?
Well, I do have a few shows coming up, not at the Opry, but in December I'm playing a few shows. So stay tuned to my socials. Everything is Erin Kirby Music, and I will be posting about those, as well as new music coming out in January. So I'm super excited about that. I haven't announced anything yet, but there will be a song coming that I'm very excited to release.
Nice. And you mentioned your socials. What was the handle again?
It's Erin Kirby Music. So my name and then music.
Perfect. So Erin, it was a wonderful chatting with you, and learning a little bit about you and how your year has been. I think it's safe to say that 2024 and beyond are going to be quite good to you, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I love chatting with you. This was so fun.
All right, so that was Ronnie's interview with Erin Kirby. What I got out of it is, she seems like a super fun person to hang out with. I love that song, Redneck Rich. For me, I grew up in the sticks and quite literally a redneck, and I definitely felt like where I grew up was on 10 acres of land. We had a creek that ran through it, up on a hill. Didn't have very close neighbors, so growing up as a redneck kid, we were able to kind of do whatever we wanted to. We had bike jumps on one side, we'd go fishing and shooting BB guns all over the place, and in my mind, I thought we were rich. I mean, we really did have anything that you wanted to do, you could do there. So I really, really, connected to this song, and I really like, Erin's, she had that TikTok viral situation happen with Cameron, another really great artist. And so I'm definitely here for the ride. And, I think Ronnie did a great job on that interview. So thank you to Ronnie. But other than that, I mean, we definitely want to thank Erin for coming on Outside the Circle. Be sure to follow her on all of her social media and music listening platforms. We'll leave you today with a track from Erin Kirby, Boys These Days.
What's going on with all the boys these days? Whatever happened to the old John Waynes? Did all the cowboys up and ride away? What's going on with all the boys these days? Ooh. Your phone, try to get too close, get you feeling things start to reel you in, and then they ghost. Know how to work that charm, get you in the palm of their hands, start talking big plans just to break your heart. What's going on with all the boys these days? Whatever happened to the old John Waynes? Did all the cowboys up and ride? What's going on with all the boys these days? Whatever happened to the old John Waynes? Did all the cowboys up and ride?